lab, whatever we call it, because I'm still working on that name. The conversation today and on My Other Daughters is about resources for those of you women and some men out there. And most importantly, there's a whole grandchildren's space that are helping their elderly loved ones, whether it's family, friends, neighbors, aunts, continue to remain mobile and enjoy their activities. And that is truly part of today's story. Today, I'm interviewing Justin Boogaard of Go-Go Grandparents, and I actually found him in a couple different spaces. One in the Union Tribune in San Diego, and two online as entrepreneurs in the senior services space. What you're gonna learn about today is, one, you'll meet Justin, find out about his service, and lastly, to get a bit more familiar with the entrepreneurs that are in this space and are truly part of the innovation that is going to happen in senior services for the 21st century. So this is what I know about Justin. He's a Bonita Vista High grad. And if you see the top of my head, it's because I'm looking at my notes. So that means he's a SoCal boy. He's also a Bruin, and he is part of, it looks like he's an alum of the Startup Grind. What is the name of it?
Well, I'm a contributor for Startup Grind.
Okay, he's a contributor for Startup Grind. So that's what I know a little bit about Justin. So Justin, if you'd like to do a self-introduction.
Sure. Thank you, Judy, for the opportunity. So, self-introduction. I can give it to you from like 4 years ago. I started doing tech things, and actually my first endeavor was playing around in like the YouTube space, and that worked out okay, but not super grand. But it did bring me to my grandma. She was kind enough to let me live with her while I was working on that for like 2 years. And then over that 2 years, lots of cool things happened. I learned a lot more about entrepreneurship, how to be like a better builder of things. And I met some folks at the accelerator in Santa Monica that's called Mucker Lab. And that was kind of where like my professional network of tech people started. And then I did a few other things, and still looking for that like grand idea. And then just 6 months ago, my grandma told me that she wasn't able to drive at night, or that she wasn't feeling comfortable driving at night. And actually it was her idea. But she said, can I call Uber? Can you give me Uber's phone number? I said, oh, Uber doesn't have a phone number. And then she goes, well, you should make that. And she said it really stern like that. You should make that. And so that's kind of, I thought that made a lot of sense. So now Go-Go Grandparent is a service that provides senior services, everything from transportation to grocery delivery from a phone call. And we're working on expanding like our vendor partners beyond just Uber and some of the other big apps here, but also to other companies in the space that are interested in getting involved in senior services.
Wow. Can I say there are so many things in what you just said, and no, this is great, because this is so much as a gerontologist what I believe in. So I want to hit on a couple things. Is multi-generational family living. Your grandma was kind enough to help you start out, because I know what it's like when you're an entrepreneur. We talk about having a runway, and those are sometimes the runway are the people who can support us while we get to the next phase.
Yeah. And I like that metaphor too, because it's like we're trying to take off, and we just have to have this, we're just trying to go real fast and just fly.
Yes, exactly. And we know we can do it. We just need the support. So what was that like? Because you'd been at UCLA living on your own, doing your own thing, and now you are living with your grandmother. What was that like? What was that like?
Well, it was actually pretty good. She's like this was definitely the closest we had ever been. But we'd always been like tangentially like really close. She's my grandma. I'm her grandson. I'm her only grandson. And she says I'm her favorite grandson. She has 3 granddaughters. So anyway, but so like it started off a little rocky, just like trying to get used to everything. She had recently become a widow, or not recently, 2 years prior she had been widowed. Right. And so like she was set like in the stuff that she does, but it was actually pretty simple. She said that she has 2 rules. She's not going to make me food, and I have to put the toilet seat down. And the first one, no problem. It did take me like 6 months though to figure out how to put that toilet seat down. I'm really good now. I'm very well trained. And but yeah, I mean the coolest thing about living with her was that you know, she had been around during the Great Depression, right? And so like dinner time talks would be about stuff that I just had no idea, like what was it like. There was also some pretty clear contrast between the way that she thought the world worked and the way I thought the world worked. And I wouldn't say that I necessarily like buy everything that she said that that's the way the world works, but it was interesting to point out like how things have changed, or how people can be different. And so now we're like working with like 300 grandparents, and it's cool because I know how to talk to them, and I know
absolutely. So talk about a strong focus group and great data gathering.
Sure. Didn't know that's what it was at the time, but I'll take it.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. So for people who are watching the recording of this, what it sounds like, I'm going to call I believe your grandmother's name is Betty Lou?
Betty Lou Luce, yeah.
Betty Luce. Yes. So and
you were correct.
Because I was actually in a sorority, and one of the directors, her name was Betty Lou, and she wielded a really strong presence in that house. It looks like we've got Justin frozen, so I'm going to see if that's going to work out. Yeah, it did work out. Great. So Betty Lou set some parameters. Can you?
Okay, yes, you're back. Yeah, you're good.
Okay,
you're good. Sorry. Keep on.
So again, these are some tips for multi-generational living arrangements. She set down some simple rules. They weren't a lot, but she definitely had her boundaries of what was acceptable and what wasn't.
Yes. And
then you go with a program.
Yeah, it wasn't hard. She likes to read a lot, and I would be, so like when I was working there, basically, yeah, we got into a pretty good routine. We'd wake up, I would make myself breakfast, and then I would go back into my room and do like encode on some stuff while she would like read and do whatever she needed to do. We'd see each other again for lunch, and then again for dinner. We'd have like a nice long, like hour-long conversation at dinner, and then I'd go back and do some more work. Right. And then she would usually go to bed. I think the biggest thing that, you know, she had her rules, but then I had mine, such as like on hot days I don't want to put on pants, and she just kind of she got used to that, no problem, and so we got it going, and then after 2 weeks everything got smoothed out, and it was all fine.
So some takeaways right there. If you're looking at a multi-generational family or a living situation, you want to set down some ground rules and have your boundaries, and expect a transition period. It might be 2 weeks. It might be 2 months. Ideally, it's not going to be over 3 months, because that's when you may need to negotiate. So I'm glad. Thank you for sharing that very personal story, because I think that can help a lot of people whose grandparents may want to help them, but they're a little hesitant about accepting that help, knowing that there might be strings attached. So instead of strings, think of those as really healthy boundaries. So that was one of the takeaways.
Yeah.
The other thing is, you know what? I spoke at South by Southwest.
Oh, cool.
In the aging space. And what my goal in the work I do is to make adults 60 plus, 80 plus, 90 plus makers, because they have experience it may not be our experience, but they were of the generation, and I think it just comes with age and experience in living, where sometimes you have to fix it yourself, you have to make it yourself. And I think they have the skills to see things super in a different framework, which clarifies it for us. Like what's Uber's number? Give me Uber's number. Well, then you should make something like that.
Yeah.
All she's talking about is a simple low-tech interface.
Right.
Would never have occurred to me. I go with the trainings. That's where my space is. But that is so clear. So I really think for those of you who are looking at senior services and those who are daughters, there may be some really simple solutions if you look at it and engage. Like Justin did, he engaged his grandmother, and she came up with what we're looking at now, which is go grandparent. Looks like you're living the entrepreneur life with lots of people coming in and out.
I'm in my roommate's room, and he just wanted to check out, see what was going on. Sorry about that. Yeah.
No, it's all good. That's and really for the daughters who are watching this on the replay, I touched on it earlier. There's a lot of entrepreneurs in the senior space who are going to drive innovation. They're doing it on a shoestring. So they have the idea, the product. What most of us entrepreneurs don't have are a whole lot of cash. So wherever we can save money, that's exactly what we do.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean there's a lack of quality. It just means we are super careful with how we spend our money. Yeah. So life on a shoestring, and that's all good because we got a vision. So one, grandmothers as makers, and I think that's super exciting. You also mentioned, okay, so now what's fascinating, and now you have, I saw on your website, you've had about 600
callers. Yeah.
600 callers.
Yeah. I think like closer to 700 now. Today's been really busy.
So there is a need, and you were able to listen to your grandmother without any daughter filters, which is sometimes an issue. I always joke with people, if you want to get to an older adult, you want to talk to their grandchild, because a lot of times their adult daughter has no influence. It's a grandchild that sometimes a grandparent is way more open with.
Huh.
Could you do that? Or I don't know what your experience was. I don't know.
I don't know if that's...
Yeah,
I would say that is my experience. When my grandma calls me, like, I will pick up the phone. My mom has not had the same experience. And with my grandma, though, I don't know. I thought it was more unique just because I lived with her for 2 years. I mean, we know each other pretty well now. But maybe that is the case. Where, like, because there's two things my grandma, like, really, really, really loves. One is her family, and the other is her dog, and the dog can't talk, and so if you want to get to her, you got to go through the family. And we got really close, but she's also really close with my family. I mean, well, from what I can say from our callers is that most of them have come in on their own. They read about it in the paper, and they were like, I want this, because it was either this or try to buy and then figure out an iPhone. Awful. And then of the people that come to us from a referral, well, actually, no. Yeah. It's usually being referred by a friend at Bridge Club or Bingo or something. But then the next one is of family referrals. I would say that the adult daughters are the ones that are the most. We've had 2 grandkids. No, we've had 4 grandkids sign up their grandparents. But I would say that was the minority. But who knows? I mean, we also haven't done a lot of targeting online where the grandkids are at. We've only done like newspaper stuff. So maybe I don't know yet.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is, or actually what I do want to hear in the conversations that you have with your callers, it sounds like they're getting their advice from their local clubs. So you mentioned bridge clubs.
They're friends. They're friends in clubs.
They're social circles. So if you're a daughter watching this, chances are you might want to either become a part or a sponsor of your mother's bridge club or whatever organization she belongs to, because those are going to be her influencers. Granted, you have the newspaper, but the people she trusts more are probably going to be those in her social circle.
Yeah.
And that's what Justin's talking about. So again, if you want to have sway with your mother, you might want to look at her social organizations she belongs to, because those can help you to help her influence some of her decisions. Because again, this is for daughters trying to help their mothers, and sometimes we can't do so directly. We may need to go through a third party like you. So the next question, Justin, in the callers that you're getting, what is their, where is the one place they want to go and why? Or do you even, you may not even get that information, but where do they want to go? And it looks like Justin's frozen up for them there. And it looks like at the moment.
Sorry, I'm on my phone. My computer is kind of nuked right now. So anyway, I'm back though. Sorry about that.
Good. So my question was, where do your callers want to go? What's their primary destination?
The doctor's office.
The doctor's.
And then the second is bridge club. And maybe that's just because we've done a pretty good job of getting into bridge clubs, but doctor's office and bridge club are the ones, or are the two I hear the most. The market, you know, some people don't really want to get their groceries delivered. They'd rather just go get their groceries. Maybe it's fun for them. So the market is one. We have a couple people that go to the gym and they're like in their 80s. So, you know, mad respect. It's pretty. People go into happy hour, equal level of respect. We have people going to museums, to operas, to their families. We had one woman today take it to the spa. She's getting a mud bath.
Wow. Okay, so for those of you who are listening, your parents have places they want to go. They may not feel comfortable asking you to take them to the spa or take them out for happy hour because they may feel judged. So know that a service like Go Grandparent can definitely improve your parents' quality of life, because it's going to be places they want to go without any judgment and on their own and independently. Just in the rides that actually, I understand the service, but I know our callers would like to, or our watchers, viewers would want to know a little bit more about your service, how it works. So can you walk us through the process?
Yeah, it's super simple. So the first time someone calls, they get connected to an operator. That operator will register their phone number and get their home, and that includes getting their home address and then a charge card to set up their account under. And then every time that person calls back, and they can call back from their whatever number they registered, and we let them register a cell phone and a home phone number. So if they call back from their cell phone or their home number, then they're greeted by a prompt that says, hello, please press 1 to order a car to your home. Please press 2 to order a car to wherever we dropped you off last. If you're interested in meals, press 3 to speak with an operator, or for grocery delivery, press 4. And so just talking about the rides right now, they would press 1, and then a car would come to their home, which we have because you registered it when you registered their phone number. And then they would tell the driver where they want to go. The driver would take them wherever, and then we would save that last location. And then when they needed a ride back, they would call and press 2, and then they'd be picked up and taken back. If they're not at their last location and they're not at their home, they can call and press 0 and speak with an operator. And then we'll issue a ride on their behalf, as long as they're registered.
Okay, so because I work in the transportation space, I find this super interesting. So when they call you, they don't have to have a destination. They may have a destination in mind. They don't have to give you an address or anything. They give that to the actual driver. Is that the way it works? And the drivers, are those Lyft and Uber drivers, or is it another service that you use, or how does that work?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. So we started as Uber, but our goal is just to be like the cheapest cheapest transportation to get someone from A to B. And so, and specifically seniors. So
Right.
in a couple areas, Lyft is actually cheaper. So we go with them. And then also Uber is good for like 80% of transportation, but it's not really good for like wheelchair or people that have like those sturdy Parkinson's walkers.
Yes.
And so, but Uber covers about 80% of people's needs. And then, or the ride sharing, Uber and Lyft covers about 80% of people's needs. And then we are working on now expanding into non-emergency medical transport for the other 20%. And there's also a bunch of like free methods of transportation with volunteers and what have you.
Right.
We want to be able to bring those onto the platform as well to give people, options. You can get free or you can get there fast, but you can't really get there together. And so we're still trying to figure out how to navigate that, but it's going to be either like the goal is to make it just as simple as we have it now. And so if they want to do it free, they'll press a digit on a phone number. It will get there when it gets there, and then they go wherever they need to go. Also, as older adults start getting more comfortable with smartphones, we'll be able to do more things when we eventually create like either a text message concierge or a app-based concierge. And then I see us becoming kind of like a aggregator for people that are offering senior services, maybe at a discount, for folks that are trying to live longer independently in their home. That was kind of the answer to your question and a little bit more of like a longer vision, but there you have it.
Yeah, no, that's good, because I do have a couple questions. So there are definitely adults who have mobility issues, and you mentioned Parkinson's, sturdy, and wheelchair. So it sounds like somebody who is in a wheelchair will let you know, I've got a wheelchair, so you are able to accommodate them with either Lyft or an Uber in a special instance. Did I get that right?
Almost. I mean, that's the goal. Right now, the two ride-sharing services have limited access to, or they have limited accessibility options. And so if someone comes to us in a wheelchair or one of those Parkinson's walkers, which are just it's like a semicircle, rigid metal walker, then if they're in an area where we can help them, then we can help them. But it's not always the case, which is a huge bummer. And it covers what we have now covers about 80% of the use cases. But on our end, we're looking into how are we going to offer people that have mobility issues this service as well. And so that's something that we're looking into right now. But it isn't totally baked into the platform just yet.
Right. And I do want to address this for the daughters who are out there and listening. If your loved one does have a mobility issue, I will tell you a lot of the volunteer ride programs will provide wheelchair accessible, but a lot of times, or mobility aid accessible, a lot of times they may limit the number of rides per week, because that becomes an issue. Having worked in that space, they do have wheelchair accessible, I'll call them vans or transportation. But again, it might be on a limited basis. So no, that may be part of your challenge. And that's why I truly encourage people to really do their research, because yes, you want to help your mom, and yes, you want to be there for her, but you also need to know what's available when you're not there. So again, with GoGo Grandparent, they do offer something that's accessible, but not always. It just is not available. Your community programs may have actually will provide it, but perhaps on a limited basis. So again, it's that circle of trying to resolve that solution. And that's why people like Justin are in this space, because that is a growing part of our elderly population. Not everyone.
You raised a cool point. Like, I didn't realize how hard it was to find these services until I started looking. And so, I mean, currently GoGo Grandparent has just begun involving family members into our platform as well. So now when an older adult gets a ride, we send out like a text message to the loved one, or to the adult daughter or son, and whatever it might be, saying like, your mom's on the move. Her driver's name is John. John's number is this, and then when they get there, we'll send out a notification saying like, your mom's at the market, or whatever it might be, just to give some peace of mind. Right. But we want to build out that some more. And I hadn't really thought about it until just now, Judy, but it would be cool if we gave people, like, they don't really have to do research. They can skip the research. And then we've already done that. And then, oh, your mom needs a ride, has a wheelchair, no problem. Like, just, this is how you do that. And it's just easy. It's not there yet, but that's a cool direction for us to go into.
Cool. So it looks like we're almost wrapping up our time. Tell me this, do you have any advice for daughters who are looking for services like that, how they can help their parent, how they can help you deliver the quality and the service that you want that is part of your vision? Because you just shared part of your vision with us, which to me sounds beautiful, because there is a place for this service. So again, if you can share your advice for adult daughters getting their mothers into this, or making it easier, or eliminating the barriers.
Yeah, well, there's really not, we're doing our best to make sure there's not too huge of barriers. We have found that it works smoother if someone is with mom or dad just for that first trip, but it's not critical. I would say that maybe like 20% of people go with their parents on the first trip. Either way, we're always available to like walk, mom or dad through that. The only thing though is, and it is frustrating when it happens. It's not frustrating for us, but it's frustrating for our callers. Some callers were like given smartphones, but they weren't like really shown how to use them. And so, and that's cool with us. Like we're a service. You can call us from any type of phone that you want. A lot of people do call us from smartphones, even though they could just download like a ride sharing app themselves, because we're simpler. But if you are going to do that, make sure that your mom knows how to pull up the keypad. Mom or dad knows how to pull up the keypad, because you do have to push one. And funnily enough, like smartphones are actually less intuitive on how to do that than like a normal phone would be. And so, but that's really the best side. As far as getting involved with GoGo Grandparent goes, that's the best advice I can give. And then the people that are looking for services, get involved with GoGo Grandparent, because we got your back.
I love that. I love that. Well, thank you for joining me today. And I'll be uploading this video to YouTube, as you found, and I'll also include Justin's links to GoGo Grandparent.
Thanks.
So again, thank you for joining. You're welcome. Again, thank you for joining Justin and I. And again, we've been talking about GoGo Grandparent, the new service that's giving your elderly loved ones the mobility and freedom they need. So thank you, Justin.
Thank you, Judy. Happy to be here.
Thanks.